Hey, Mom,
What?
are you practicing your feng shui?
Oh, yeah.
Reorganizing the television set top? Spacing it out, the items? It's a big salt lamp you got there.
I got the little
Is
one
that
you
is
gave
that
me,
a
too.
Himalayan pink salt?
Yeah.
Oh, it is? Yeah.
I got the pink one you gave me, too.
Is that the little one on the table here?
Yes.
When did I give you that?
Oh, my God.
I don't remember
I
at
think
all.
you were 16.
Oh, yeah? Where did I get that from?
I don't know. You were out Christmas shopping with Polly.
Oh, yeah? It's interesting.
Came home with it for me.
Are you sure it was with Polly?
Yes, it
Okay.
was with Polly.
So I don't remember at all.
I do.
What's today's date?
The 9th.
The 9th of what?
Oh, come on. Every day you ask me.
Well, it's the way I validate in my videos so that people know I'm telling the truth.
January
What?
2022.
Good.
And Mickey Mouse loves you.
Okay, great. That's good. I got, well, Mount Hagen. The bag
Mount
that I had.
Hagen?
Wait, the bag that I had, I was only halfway through, and it lasts me almost about half a year to maybe 3/4 of a year. Now, a whole bag would last me about close to 3/4 of a year, or maybe 2/3. But I only finished half of the last bag, and the reason why I had to get a new one was because I accidentally forgot to seal it, and I believe that they may use baking soda to freeze dry it in the freeze drying process. And the fact is, it lost its fragrance after it wasn't sealed. Last time I went to I was about to take some, then I noticed it was wide open in the other Ziploc bag, and I gave it a whiff, and there's like hardly any the strength of the fragrance was like completely gone. So I bought it. I mean, otherwise, when it's sealed, it stays good for a very long time. Like the strength is pretty good for a good length of the entire product. And it's not good if it.
Guys away?
Okay.
Or should I put them out?
Yeah, put it back on the television set if you want. Yeah. The thing about the whole thing with the baking soda is that sometimes people literally on purpose or deliberately put baking soda in, let's say, a some type of dish or bowl out in the open as an air freshener in order to absorb foul odors or something like that in the house, and to help it, reduce that and circulate the air. So knowing that, and that how it lost its original strength in the last package that I had,
Louis, get down.
and the fact that it was wide open, I didn't want to continue using that one because the possibility of it absorbing something from the air, and I didn't want to catch a germ or anything like that. I'm not sure how well baking soda actually purifies it itself. I don't know if it I don't think it works like a carbon filter or anything like that. I'm not sure exactly how well I think it actually absorbs stuff from the air if it was exposed to too much oxygen in the room. You know what I mean? Or carbon dioxide or carbon monoxide. Animal protein being cooked and things like that. I didn't want to consume from the one that was open and exposed to the air too long. So I bought a new bag. How much did the coffee cost again? $20?
Yeah.
It's a great product. It's very good. I started with an eighth of a teaspoon, a cup at first, but I've been using a tablespoon since the last time I opened up the last package, and half the bag was gone. It's a good product. So that's my review for the Mount Hagen Organic Fair Trade freeze-dried instant coffee. Do you know, it was around this time of the year when I was about 10 years old, and I used to go shoveling with my friends. It was a day off we had. And this friend comes across my profile in this video, he would remember us making frappuccinos. When we got home from shoveling snow, it was something like similar to the Starbucks frappuccinos, but with regular whipped cream when we were younger. And we would put like a tablespoon of nutmeg on the homemade frappuccino. I had purchased a Folgers freeze-dried coffee back then from the grocery store. It was a blue container. It was freeze-dried, I remember. And that was the last time I had coffee, even though it was great. I don't know why I stopped. I think I did have a few regular generic coffees that were hot afterwards, but it was around when I was 10 or 11 when I discontinued for some reason drinking coffee. I was even drinking it before going to school, I believe, for some time. I do remember that. Anyways, yeah, I used to order pizza with my friends. So, we used to. That was the reason why we went shoveling, was so we could order things or buy things like that. That would be otherwise a luxury. You know what I'm saying? Ordering pizza in our family was usually only Fridays, possibly. It wasn't all the time. And if it was something that was, a true desire when I was younger, it would be something that we would work towards, if we had that opportunity to shovel snow That's how I look at writing computer software too, or that's how, let's say, an artist, when they are working on a mural or something like that, if they expect eventually one day to maybe not just one day, but let's say they make a bunch of them regularly, they expect to get good enough so that they could just so they can get their pizza or something like that. And that's a good reward, that in some cases, but then eventually you have to draw a line depending on, let's say, exactly how many skill sets one has accomplished. In my case, I know about, as far as beyond, let's say, 2D animations and onion skins, motion tweens, keyframes, and action script. When I was in high school, I made an art gallery for friends that loaded images off of a CD drive using the file paths to the CD drive, but when it loaded the images dynamically into the dynamic generated gallery based on the amount of files within the directory on the CD, it would display thumbnails, and then they would be somewhat translucent. When the cursor moved over it, it scaled it in an animated dynamic way on the screen, and it displayed his illustrations that he was professional at. And I was a senior in high school at the time, and I just finished that project. I thought it was shortly before I had amnesia in his car. So then, eventually I learned 3D animation. Several years later, I decided that's something that I always wanted to try to, cover. And was able to with Blender 3D. I purchased the book titled Blender Foundations. Blender 3D is it's a free open source software for uh, doing 3D modeling and animations and things like that. It has a physics engine built in, and it even has a game engine, but the scripting language would be Python for it, but it's not as good as, let's say, where in my case I had also learned Unity 3D, or had an covered a good amount of understanding how to make a basic 3D game using the 3D models I had created in Blender 3D and then exported them as a FBX file extension, the 3D models, and then or 3D animations of the joined models that were animated in Blender 3D. Then I would export them as .fbx in that .fbx format file extension, and then import it into Unity 3D and assemble the 3D video game that ran on the computer. But Unity 3D allows one, depending on if they pay for the extra features, to then have the option to deploy it to video game systems and things like that, like the latest video game consoles and within the Unity 3D marketplace. And the scripting language for that is C# instead of where just in Blender 3D it's Python. Blender 3D's built-in game engine, it uses Python. It's an interpretive language it is slower than that engine. Then let's say if you export the animations that are baked, or if you export the animations that are I guess you could say baked. It's baked is a term used in Blender 3D for when things are not in real time, not dynamically being generated, but only one time around, and then as a video rendering, like a video clip of the real time rendering at one time, and then so that the wheel doesn't have to be reinvented. The calculations becomes captured in still frames and keyframes based off of the one time, mathematical computational calculations to generate the motion tweens of, let's say, the arm movements and the leg movements. That's called when it's saved to a file like .fbx extension, that's called being baked. And then within Blender 3D, you can bake the animations or the renderings within like a nested way, just to run with even just Blender 3D. But then once it's exported and then imported into something like another game engine like Unity 3D that accepts a .fbx file extensions, it runs much better within, let's say, that type of engine that uses C#. It's it translates into bytecode or machine code and stuff like that differently. The compilation, it does compiling instead of real-time interpretations within, just like where in Blender 3D you have to install Blender 3D, I believe. And anyways, so yeah, once someone has covered enough groundwork like that, of another 30 seconds. In my case, I want to have a girl be a model for, let's say, boudoir photography, and then make some portraits like that size, what I'm saying? Eventually, maybe based off her judgment, if she wants to have a public gallery of it, that's up to her. Or otherwise, we just hide it or something in the house. It's just but I'm at that level where it's about time that I have, I can achieve that. 3 more seconds.